Force is the push or pull of an object. Force is measured in newtons and calculated with the formula force is equals to mass times acceleration. We have different types of force. Magnetic force, we have the force of gravity, and many other forms of forces which we will look at as we go in deeper into the topic. So the basics of force are the laws of motion. So Newton has 3 laws of motion. The 3 laws of motion are: the first one, a body in motion remains in motion, or a body at rest remains at rest unless acted upon by a force. So this means when a body is at rest or in motion, as long as there is no other force which acts on it, it will stay in its position indefinitely. That is to say, until another force acts on it. An example which can be given for the first law of motion is abantu muri basi. Abantu nga bali muri basi, and then suddenly yayimirira. Suddenly ngayimirira, abantu tends to be pushed forwards. Mwawakati wako kuntansha, and then wawera. That is the first example for the Newton's first law of motion. So iwe uli mu motion ulienda, and then the bus suddenly stops. You will want to continue going at the same speed which you are moving together with the bus, unless another force acts on you. That is ichiponechiri kuntanshi or wemwine wayiminika. That is when you are going to stop being in motion. And then the second law of motion says force equals mass times acceleration. So this is to say that a body, or the mass of a body, and its acceleration, also the direction, is going to be equal to the force which acts on it. Ngapari ball up, so, and then someone kicks the ball in this direction. The ball yara kuntanshi muri same direction ya force ya muntu pantire, and then at the same acceleration oyo umuntu achira pantirapo, also with the same force oyo umuntu achipantirapo. So when you kick a ball with a certain amount of force, the force which the ball is going to go with will be equal to the force oyo pantirepo, and the direction will also be equal to the direction oyo achipantiramo, and the acceleration will also be equal according na acceleration yafo achirapanda. The third law of motion. So the third law of motion says for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. This is to say that whenever there is a force, whenever there is an action of force, there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction of that force. This is to say that whenever a force acts on something, there is always an equal but opposite reaction of force which happens. Whenever wanyanta panshi na certain amount of force, the ground or omushiri urashita react na same amount of force or wanyanta na yena. Whenever wapanta bora, nga wapanta bora, same amount of force or wala bonfya kupanta bora, ila bora urashita react na kuriwe with the same amount of force. So you must be thinking, number why inenshira if you are bora ngachakwa na ipanta the same amount of force. This is where we bring in inertia. So inertia is the tendency of a body to maintain its position, whether in acceleration or at rest. So inertia of a body is simply equal to its momentum or equal to its mass. So nga ninkwata ekishimbi bibiri nafukwata shape imwe na size imwe, but chimwe ekishimbi kiri 1000 kilograms and then chimbi kiri 1 kilogram, and then napanta ekishimbi with this force, with the same amount of force, let's say of 50 newtons. Napanta nechimbi nachina with 50 newtons. Ichi kichasera because nachikwata mass inono, therefore nachikwata inertia inono, but ichita chaseri pantu nachikwata mass ingi, therefore nachikwata inertia ingi. But another example for the third law of motion, muma rockets or ndande if you have a common muma pipe tiro tutapirisha tuma sprinklers tiro tutapirisha pa simba ngana tuma sprinklers takwa kwataka moto, but immediately mwapika kwa menshi turamba ukushunguruka turesansa menshi nombaya ukuriwa kushunguruka force ifuma kwisa. It is the third law of motion, as amenshi ari efuma muri ka pipe kali iriya force oyo amenshi ari efuminapo yaraba equal but opposite kuri na imbi force ireba created pantu na Newton's last law of motion or third law of motion. So iriya ni force amenshi ari efuminapo na imbi force yaraba created yarasunka akaka mu pipe kunum, which is why tushungurukira totuma sprinklers. And then an experiment which can be done is kubika botoro and then mwachikakira and then mwatura ngamwatura mwabika mu amenshi atampa okufuma, as amenshi ari efuma ekibotoro kyatampa okuchunguruka ku opposite direction yako amenshi ari efumina, because nakwata force yari efuminapo iresta create equal and opposite force.